Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for those who are here live and also those who are listening on the podcast. I encourage you to participate as if you are live. Grab your paper and pen. We're going to be doing a 90-second meditation in just a moment. And during that 90-second meditation, this is an opportunity for you to be listening for what God has for you. I asked a couple of questions in my daily GPS this morning, and mostly it was surrounded around, what do you have for me? Like what new information am I not seeing? What do I need to know? And just always really grateful that I have the ability to do that I know as soon as I ask, God's got the answer waiting and ready for me to ask. So this 90-second meditation that we're stepping into, and I feel like, as I've kind of set God apart as a source of inspiration, the focus that we're going to do today is gratitude for timelines. And, of course, I know I have my timeline, and there's also God's timeline. And I'm sure that there are lots of other timelines. So excited for what we get to learn today. 90-second private silent meditation. Just write down whatever comes to you on gratitude for timelines. Begin. All right. Well, I had something come up that I wasn't expecting, which was really good new information for me. At first, I was really drawn to like being on God's wavelength, His timeline, the laws that He obeys, on obeying His laws, and you, as you participate in the Lord's Way to Wealth, you'll find out more about what that means. That there are different laws than just like those law of attraction, law of the harvest, the physical laws that we are subject to here on earth. There are another set of laws that are a higher set of laws that when you choose the Lord's Way to Wealth, you are choosing to subject yourself to as well. But I'm seeing today that there's an even higher set of laws, which I'm super excited to be open to learn more about. The way that He chooses to do things according to His timeline, I'm seeing that it's based on His love for each individual, that He knows us individually, and He's not going to push something farther or faster than that person is ready for, or is, there might be some lessons that that person needs to learn to help them be successful with whatever it is that they're asking for. And when I say they, I'm talking me. I had an experience this week where I met with a couple, and actually they're on this call. One of them at least is on this call today. And so I'm not going to say their name, but I met with this couple and I jumped ahead. I actually got really excited to share my agenda and what I thought was what I wanted them to participate. It wasn't what I thought was best for them. It was actually what I wanted to share. And so I was not obeying that higher law of God to act only according to what is perfect for the person at the time. That was a human part of me just wanting everybody to be on board, with what I'm doing. And I learned a lesson that day. And this is just today getting more understanding about that higher law that I get to learn more about. So really grateful for this meditation today. Who else has something that they would like to share?
I will share.
Thanks,
the first thing I thought of was like the timeline of the Bible, because I used to just know Bible stories, but I couldn't remember what fit where. And so one time I actually read through the Bible and I just read the captions of everything and made little notes. And so I kind of just having the chronological order of things was interesting. But I also thought about timelines of the world, timelines of, the significant things in the world. But what really popped out, I had a friend who wrote her timeline, and she just drew a long line on a paper and from her birth, and she had an amazing memory. I mean, she could remember things from kindergarten. But just writing out the significant things in her life, the good things, the bad things, just putting them in order, and it gave her a different perspective of reflection on the things that had happened, her path in her life. And I think she did that in preparation to write her personal history, which was really interesting to me. But that's what was really coming up to me, how when we see a timeline from beginning to end, how we see our part in it and where we fit in, and how things shape, and really noticing God's hand in our life.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. That reminds me of the exercise that I've been doing over the last few days, where I've gone through over the last 30 days and writing down every inspired shortcut that I had each day. And it's been amazing to see as a whole the theme, and kind of the timeline, the theme of that timeline and where God has been leading me. And I feel kind of that same thing with our own timeline. And, that Bible's timeline, it helps us to kind of see the theme and understand what God's really trying to tell us. I think kind of getting up on that 10,000 foot level. Thank you. Appreciate that. Who else?
I'd like to share.
Thanks, Phil.
What came up for me is that time is an illusion. And it's really a physical thing. And it's every time there's pain in me, and it's because of a thought process that has to do with time. It's either a remembering process or a future prediction process. And with it comes pain, sometimes anticipation, and sometimes remembering something, that a lesson or something that's useful. But for the most times, what it does is it remembers the pain and it predicts the pain, and it keeps me out of being where God is, and that is now. God is never in the future. He is never in the past. He is only now. And when I can allow myself to stay present and not time warp in my mind, then I feel much more empowered, much more connected, and much more able to take steps to move toward whatever that inspired message is. And when I can't, or when I am unable, or talk myself out of taking steps, once again, it's because I've time warped inside of my mind and predicted some kind of a negative outcome, and which is not real. Again, it's just an illusion. So that's what's on my mind.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's interesting. Time, that time is an illusion is so true. I was thinking about, you said it's a physical thing. It's actually something that we have here on earth, that we sometimes even like worship time. We're checking the clock and making sure that we get things done at a certain time or whatever. And I know sometimes I feel like I'm being chased by time. I gotta hurry, here it comes. So it definitely is a physical thing that we experience here on earth, but it also is non-existent. It really is just an illusion. Time is not, you can measure time, you can relate things according to time, but it's not a tangible thing. It's not, you can pick up a clock, but a clock is not time. Like, can you grab time out of the air? You can't. It really is just like a non-existent, ethereal thing. When we're so focused on time, like you're talking about past, present, or past and future, where it's like worried that we're not going to get stuff done in time, or we feel like time is stretching out forever, and can this just end? Whatever, then we are not in that present state of time being non-existent. God's time we know is like so much greater. It's infinite. It's eternal. There is no time in God's space. And so being in that present space, what is right now, rather than being in the past and the future, is basically being in a place where time does not exist. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Get a couple more shares.
I'd like to share.
Melissa and then Tammy.
So I really, really appreciate that last thought that you and Phil just thought out. I think in timelines. Like, I am constantly associating people with things that they have done, things that they are, like dates. And I just think very linearly. and I tend to get very stuck on timelines in my mind. And I let myself get very, very overwhelmed when things don't happen in my timeline. And in the past, I've created a lot of problems for myself in relationships because of my timelines. And it's really helpful for me right now because I'm designing my web, which is very frustrating because it's not going how I want it to go. But I just love what you just said about time just being non-existent, because my work and what I'm doing is so much more important than any timeline I can put on it. Mm-hmm. And when I know I'm on God's errand, then I just know that He's going to make it work on His time frame, and that I just need to be putting all my effort in, and then He's going to just lead me to where I need to be when I need to be there. And so having that assurance really helps me with the anxiety that I bring on myself when I get caught up in timelines.
Beautiful. Thank you. I had kind of this vision when you were talking about being stuck on timelines. I think this is really powerful when you think about being stuck on a timeline. It's either a moment when you considered it good, that you're like, I want to stay here forever, or if it's a moment that you assigned as bad, that I'm stuck on this bad thing that's happening. I'm not being able to figure this out. I've had this block, I'm stuck here. So I think being stuck on a timeline really comes because we've assigned meaning, whether it be good or bad, to a moment. And that definitely is not being in God's space, because in God's space, everything just is. And there's not really an assignment of good or bad. It's just, this is all part of the timeline. Tammy.
The initial thoughts that were coming up for me was that the things that I am manifesting don't really affect me, and that God knows the perfect timing for all involved. And so just be cognizant, aware of that he's going to do the best for all involved.
I love that. Thank you. There's more timelines than just ours that are in play. We all, we love to think that we're all interconnected, but then when it comes to like, I want this, we kind of forget that and throw that out the window. So yeah, we are all, everybody on earth, everybody who has ever lived on earth, who will be coming to earth, all the human family is interconnected with God. And everything works together for our good. Everything works together for everybody's good. Thank you. Appreciate that reminder. Any last thoughts before we shift over to our permission process?
Can I share? This is Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel, thanks.
When you guys were talking, I was feeling that interconnectedness, because that's who I am. I'm discovering I love being connected, and I love noticing connection. When you make those relationships where you feel like they're eternal quickly and right away, and that it was divinely aligned for you to meet, and I just feel like that's God's timing, quote unquote, is that interconnectedness, that eternal feeling when we feel it all align and it all matches up. It's so much bigger than this earth and this time, how we see it. And I love that feeling.
Beautiful. Thank you. I know all of us have experienced that, where we've been, maybe wanting something to happen, and then everything just falls into place. And it's like, wow, this is so much better than I could have orchestrated it myself. It's like, I can't even believe how simple this all came together, and how it affected everybody so much better than the way that I was going to put it together. If I was on that, if I had the reins, and I was doing it, that is evidence right there, because I know every single one of us has experienced that. That's evidence about that concept of everything working together for our good, and him like having his eye on everybody and knowing, all the pieces that need to be put into place for it to be perfect for the masses. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and shift over to our permission process. Appreciate all that has been shared. This has been a really great, just has helped me to be super open and grateful for what is, and allow God to be orchestrating what is to come, and just like childlike excitement of what's coming, because if it didn't work out exactly the way that I had it planned, it's like, wow, there must be a way better plan that I have no idea what it is. So it's just like, oh, I just can't wait. I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath. And whatever is on your heart today about timelines, whether there is something that you are hoping for that maybe has not manifested yet on your timeline, possibly there is a relationship that you are hoping to heal and it's just not healing as fast as you would like to, or whatever it is, whatever timeline, quote, problem that you have been experiencing, whether you're feeling stuck or if you're feeling like your timeline's not matching up with God's timeline or somebody else's timeline, and just things are not happening fast enough or it's dragging on. Whatever it is, just be present and be aware of the emotion that you have been feeling about timelines before this call and this particular area of your life. And then also making some notes of some new understanding that you're having about this particular area in your life with regard to what you've learned about timelines today. And as you're getting more clear with what possibly might be happening on other people's timelines, on God's timeline, and being aware of your own timeline and the emotions that you've had, just ask that question, what lack I yet? What do I need to know? What is still lacking that would help me to be content and grateful the place I am on this timeline, and also being open and willing to allow God to orchestrate on his timeline. Just listen for inspiration of new information that you can gather, a blind spot maybe that could be opened up for you, new knowledge and wisdom, divine wisdom that will help you gain more understanding about the particular place where you are on this timeline. And as you're being more open to learn, this is a great place for us to be open to know what is your inspired shortcut today. What is the number one thing that you could do today that would allow you to move forward on your timeline, or just be in this space on your timeline and be content with being in God's space where time doesn't exist. Allow yourself to just be open to know what is the one most important thing that you could do today to feel at peace and confident in God. And then what is the limiting belief that might be coming up as you're considering taking action on this inspired shortcut and allowing yourself to be just at peace? What is the limiting belief that would stop you from taking action and just being at peace? And what's the cost of that limiting belief? If you hold on to that limiting belief, what is that going to produce for you? And if you don't like that cost, if you'd like to step out of that energy and step into something different, then you can totally give yourself permission to do that by saying yes.
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 Awesome. So what are those new beliefs? What are some new beliefs that will take the place of that old limiting belief, will give you power and confidence and enable you to be able to step forward with this inspired shortcut, will allow the feeling of peace in whatever your situation is right now to be there? What new beliefs will empower you to just live in God's space and allow God to orchestrate everything to make life simple, just to allow it to come in the perfect timetable, in the perfect timeline? What are those new beliefs? 2 or 3. And really, as you're writing those new beliefs down, really bring them into your heart and allow yourself to embrace them and have them become part of you, that they're not just words on the paper to try to convince you, that they are actually beliefs that you could stand and give your testimony of these, and these new beliefs would be the words that you would speak, that this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is how I do life. Allow those new beliefs to become part of your belief system, your faith system, your confidence in God system. And in a moment, I'm going to open it up for some shares. I want to invite anyone who would like to have a conversation with me. I think this is a really great opportunity to, wherever you're at right now on your timetable, it's a really great opportunity to have a conversation with me. Because whether you're feeling stuck, or if you are projecting yourself forward, or you're even if you're in a place of, wow, I'm totally seeing things differently, and now I'm completely open to whatever gets to be received, whatever you've created today is new. You are in a new place that you've never been before, and that is a perfect time to have a conversation with me so that we can really brainstorm together about what's next for you and give you that confidence to continue forward. And all you have to do is just go to askwylene.com, and that will take you directly to my calendar, and you can schedule a 15-minute call. Askwylene.com. It's a free call, 15 minutes. I'd love to have that time with you in this new space that you're in. Who has something that they would like to share today about their experience today?
I'll share.
Okay, Tyree
Go
and
ahead.
then Phil.
Something that came to mind is I just was listening to a woman give a training on I am, and how a lot of times we assign all of these meanings and we say all of these things, I am this or I am that. But really, we confuse our roles with I am, and we bring what I am to our roles instead of assigning meaning about ourselves because of a role. We need to bring what we are to the role. Like, for example, I feel that I'm not enough as a mother or something, and I bring that, my feeling in that role, to how I feel about myself as a person. But really, I am is who I am, regardless of the roles.
Wow.
And regardless of how I'm doing in that role.
So profound. That I am, that is so powerful. That's being in God's space. Regardless of where we are on our timeline, I am. And yeah, I feel like we weaken those words when we assign roles to it, and especially when we assign our decision about ourselves within a role. We weaken that I am. Wow, thank you. So profound. Phil.
And Kyrie, thank you for that, because that's a lot along my lines of thinking too, because my limiting belief is that I'm alone, isolated, separated, and the cost is depression and anxiety and being unmotivated to move forward. And my new beliefs is that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and that God is always before me, and that I can connect with God at any time as long as I'm in the present moment. And I get to choose each day if I want to grow. And those are my new beliefs. And so I have some action steps that came with that too, but
awesome.
I'll just leave that like that.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Wow, so powerful. And that idea that God is before me, I feel like that totally adds to this feeling of being on the timeline, being the I am on the timeline. I am right here. and God is in front of me. He's leading me. He's behind me. He's supporting me. He is beside me on both sides. He is all around me. So can never be alone. I am right here on my timeline, and God's all around me. He's preparing what's coming before. He has orchestrated what is behind, and he's walking right beside me. Thank you. Scott.
I'd like to share.
Go ahead.
Yeah. First off, I get to go home tomorrow. I've been down in Phoenix for these 2 weeks that I've been participating with the calls. So for these 2 weeks, writing down my new beliefs and shortcuts, my limiting belief is I haven't had the time to fulfill those shortcuts and actually accomplish them. Running so much, the schedule is so busy here, more than normal, yet with so little results. I've had some sales last week, but it's so very interesting how they're all financially declined. So, people and their credit just aren't allowing them to take care of their homes. So it's success with no result, that the real end of it, and then I haven't allowed myself to take my time to do my shortcuts, running so fiercely through the day. So my new belief is I just get back into the flow and take one shortcut at a time.
Awesome.
Because if I feel like I have to accomplish them all my shortcuts from the last 2 weeks and try to get them all done today, well, then I just won't do it anyway. So,
Scott, I just want to really teach a principle here. I appreciate you sharing this, because so many people, I know myself, I've gotten caught in that as well, where I get my inspired shortcut, but I think there's other things that are more important than doing that shortcut. But you've given us such a great example of how the inspired shortcut versus I have to go do this, and then all that declined. So it's like I'm back to square one. Whereas, we don't know where doing your inspired shortcuts would have taken you by now, but just super awesome evidence of how important it is to just let God orchestrate it, let him lead you, instead of feeling like, you have all the answers. And I'm using you as an example. I hope you don't feel like I'm like picking on you.
no.
But I also want to share that this is another lesson that I've learned, because I have been caught in that trap before, and it is a trap, that God always brings in those inspired shortcuts back. I promise you, you can just set those aside, start today. You have your inspired shortcut today, put that at the top of your list. And if anything else gets done, that is just icing on the cake. The inspired shortcut is the one only important thing that needs to be done today. And if you focus on that, God will lead you along the path that will be the most prosperous, the most beneficial for all, for your clients, for yourself, for your family, for your business, for everything. He will orchestrate it if you will obey that inspired shortcut. That is a personal commandment to you. And if you will obey that, he will lead you by the hand. And none of those inspired shortcuts are lost. He's going to lead you from today. You've learned some lessons over these last couple of weeks. So your inspired shortcut today and beyond this point are different than the inspired shortcuts that you got over the last couple of weeks. So start today. Just set those others aside. Be grateful for what you've learned, and then move forward from today. All you have to do is one thing. You don't have to do all those inspired shortcuts that you missed out on.
Thank you.
Because you didn't really miss out on them. They led you to where you are today. Missing those inspired shortcuts led you to where you are today. You've learned some lessons, and
I am where I am.
Yep. I am. I love it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for everything that has been shared today. I appreciate all of your shares. Have been awesome. This has been a great call. Encourage you to share it. Encourage you to go to the Breakthrough with Gratitude page and share any thoughts that have come to you since you shared, or if you weren't able to share, we'd love to read about those. Today's Friday, so we won't be together tomorrow or Sunday. Encourage you to continue your GPS practice, following your inspired shortcuts, and continue in gratitude throughout the weekend. And then we'll be back together on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Thank you.
Thanks, Marlene.
Yeah, love you guys. Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileenBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.